Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Lumiere Theatre. The Creative Inspiration Seminars continue. It's day 4 of the 64th Canne Lions International Festival of Creativity, and in this next session we're going to explore the ever-prevalent topic of purpose. Does it really drive creativity, and what really matters when it comes to developing work that's both good and great? Here to tell us more, please welcome to the stage Diageo's Chief Marketing Officer, Sil Sala, and the Global Head of Beer, Baileys and Smirnoff, Mark Sands.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, it is, wow, that's loud. It is great to be here on this giant stage. I must look like a midget, but it's all right. At least I have company. Mark, and I'm so glad you are here. We're going to do a double act, and it's easy to tell us apart. I'm the really loud, emotional American one, and what are you?
Well, so I'm the British man, and therefore I'm reserved and totally incapable of showing any emotion.
It's true. Mark and I have worked together for 17 years. I've been his boss for most of them. I keep saying, Mark, more expression, more emotion. So I thought, what better way to get Mark to express his emotion than us talking about a topic we really care about, and that's brand purpose. It's been a hot topic at Canne for the last few years. It's been a hot topic in our industry. Now, it's clear many people, many consumers want brands to do more than just their functional benefits. They want business to contribute more to society than just profit. But lately, there's been a lot of controversy around this because it's hard to get it right. So we see a lot of press around fizzy drinks getting involved with protests and people having meaningful conversations over a beer, or people talking about deep family issues at McDonald's. So it is easy to wonder, have we reached peak purpose? In fact, I'm sure you saw this campaign headline last month. Has the promise of purpose been overblown? Well, Mark and I think, far from being overblown, purpose has yet to reach its potential. And in these turbulent times, brand purpose is more important than ever. So let's start by asking why. Why does purpose matter? We think it matters because brands can contribute more than their functional benefits to people. It matters because in this era of transparency, everybody knows what we as brands or businesses say and do. It is obvious, it is clear, it is going to be tweeted out in 2 seconds or less. And ultimately, it matters because starting from people's needs, real needs, and a brand's higher purpose leads to better creative work, which sells more. And that's why we're here this week, yeah? Yeah. So these are just some of our amazing brands. And our aim today is to share when we got it right and when we got it wrong. Now, not everybody thought talking about our mistakes was a great idea. Do you remember that conversation we had with corporate relations? We love Emily, but she wasn't very happy with us.
Yeah, it didn't go so well, did it? But you know, Emily's in the control box, so she's controlling our slides still. I'll be careful what you say.
All right, well, I think we should share the story anyway. So we rock up in her office, we say, Emily, we have a great idea. We're gonna stand on the stage in front of hundreds of people and talk about when we really screwed up. And
Emily said, that's a terrible idea. You're gonna look like idiots.
And I said, yeah, but it'll be fun and maybe people will learn something.
And she said, yes, they'll learn you really are idiots. And maybe they will.
Well, listen, we don't mind, right? And in truth, looking at you guys, we all get things wrong in creative work sometimes. So, audience participation time, question for you. I want you to put up your hand if you've done bad creative work, work that hasn't worked. Put up your hand and shout me. Oh, come on, more, louder. Get it off your chest. Me, think about that failure that you've had. Let's hear it. Me. Right. Now, those of you who have not raised your hands are either not doing creative work, which is fine, or are lying. That's it's up to you. You know, we have all made bad work. Why don't we talk about it more? I think the humility to say, I blew it, is the hallmark of a great leader. I think it means that you care more about getting things right on your business, right on your brand, than you do about your ego. And I think being that honest, that truthful, actually leads to better and better work and braver and braver creative. So I reckon the track record on purpose-driven work is 50-50 at best. It's hard. And we are at the festival of creativity. So the question that we need to be asking ourselves is this one: what does it take to drive great creative work that works? Now, our thesis is it's not one thing or even two, but there are 6 things that when you think about them, when you at least consider them, will make your work better than if you didn't. Now, we have done that really cheesy thing where we thought hard and thought, how do we name them all Stees so that people can remember them? So it is cheesy, but believe me, it will help. Now, those of you who have not had too much rosé last night will notice there are 7 C's there, but I really hate the number 7. I'm superstitious. I really like the number 6. It's my birthday next week. 6/26, yay! And so 6 it is. That's what we're going with. We're going to illustrate each with a brand story. Sometimes we're going to talk about when we failed. I know you love to clap after the work. Please clap the good work. It'll be interesting, I hope, if you can tell which is which. We'll try to signal it. But before we get into the examples, Mark, you want to give them an overview of the questions?
Absolutely. So these are the questions that we ask ourselves when trying to build our purpose campaigns. Starting with a pretty big one. Why does our brand exist? And critically, where on that ladder of higher order benefits can we play? Or another way of saying that, what's the difference that our brand can make in the world? Because unless we have clarity about that, we're going to get it wrong. And in part, that comes back to credibility. Where does our brand have a right to play? And sometimes when you're sat in the office surrounded by pictures of your brand on the walls, it can be easy to overestimate the difference that your brand can make in the world. Pretty much every example that we're going to talk about today involves courage, having the courage to try things, having the courage to fail, and remembering that actually what's at risk isn't necessarily our brands. Our brands tend to be pretty resilient. It's quite hard to take a decision that will cost our brands millions. So actually more what's at risk is whether or not we're going to end up looking stupid. And have you got the courage to risk looking stupid in the pursuit of work that is going to move people? Great purpose work requires collaborating with people who share the same passion for the same cause, and requires us at the same time to be both consistent so that what our brand stands for becomes famous, but at the same time also adapting to fit into the cultural context so that we remain relevant over time. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, it takes commitment. And that means both investment, but it also means resolve. Because somewhere on the line, somebody is going to have a go at you. Now, you might be sat there thinking, okay, so I know all of these questions, and what's more, I actually know the answer to all of these questions as well. But I reckon more of you will be thinking kind of what Sil and I feel about them, which is, bloody hell, it's hard to get all of these questions right. And we certainly have not got all of these questions right all of the time. But we use them as a way of trying to make sure that the next piece of work is better than the current piece of work. And so the reason that we're sharing them here today is for 2 reasons. Firstly, so that you also hopefully will be inspired to make the next piece of work better than the last. But also importantly, because collectively, if we all make great purpose work on our brands that are good for society, then imagine the combined impact that we can make. So I'm going to go to the first of these brand stories, which is on Guinness. I've been lucky enough to work on Guinness on and off for 20 years, and it's a brand with an amazing creative legacy. If you go back to some of our most iconic, most awarded work, films like Swim Black and Surfer, right back to the start of our long relationship with BBDO, these films were based from a clear product truth. Guinness is good for you, good things come to those who wait. And these films dramatized waiting in iconic and memorable ways. Now, 5 years ago, we felt it was time to evolve the platform to Made of More. Guinness is a beer of substance for people of substance. It's a beer made of more for people who are themselves made of more. But actually, when we first started to write briefs under this new platform, we didn't get it right. And that's because we didn't connect with either the beer made of more or the people made of more to start with, but to a clock made of more.
I have decided to be more than just a tick-tock kind of clock. When time drags, I can make it fly. To give a second chance, my seconds spin backwards. And imagine if I made precious moments less momentary. Because in the end, we have a choice. Do we settle for ordinary? Or do we strive to be made of more?
So you could applaud that ad for cinematography, for production values, but what we'd lost was credibility, because it didn't have the humanity that sits at the heart of all great Guinness work. But it was a really important stepping stone into understanding how this platform was going to work. We went back into what is the soul of Guinness. I started as a graduate trainee at Guinness, and on day one, I was told that Guinness stands for three things: power, goodness, and communion. Now, in the old days, from kind of 1759, power was all about physical power. It was Guinness for strength. But actually today, power is more about strength of character and how you can use that strength of character to impact the people around you. So we evolved that platform to tell stories of the power of communion to change the world for the better. We made this film with Gareth Thomas, who was the first professional rugby player to come out as gay and carry on playing.
Everything I went through out there was nothing compared to the demons inside. In my darkest hour, I turned to my teammates. Telling them I was gay was the toughest thing I've ever done. But when I needed them the most, they were there for me.
Yeah, you can clap for that one. So I've been lucky enough to meet Gareth. He's an inspirational role model. But what was really interesting in talking to him was the important part of the story was the impact that his teammates and his friends had on giving him the strength of character. And this is how Gareth describes it in his words.
And let's turn the volume up a bit, Serge.
Rugby is a brutal sport. You intentionally trying to hurt each other for a full 80 minutes. I wanted to be extra macho, extra strong, extra tough. People are going to think this guy's not just tough as a player, he's tough as a person, which meant that I couldn't be anything else apart from a straight man in a man's world. On the outside, I had everything. Happily married captain of the national team of the national sport. Everybody looked at me as if to say I would give anything to be that guy. But I was living a lie. I was gay. I just felt that I wasn't being honest with who I am to the people around me. Sometimes we live in a society which judges people, judges them on one word, judges them on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. You're judged straight away, and I didn't want to be that. I used to stand on the cliffs near our home and think of ending it all. It was a case of I just didn't want to be here anymore. I just felt like I would lose everything that I had worked so hard to make myself, my family, my country proud of me. I thought that they would all walk away. They'd all turn their back. But although I stood to lose everything, I had to do it. When I came out to my teammates, they patted me on the back and just said, "We don't care. Why didn't you tell us before?" My coach said to me, "You can't go through this alone. These people love you." I felt this overwhelming protection given to me. Life seemed worth living again. I decided to make the film with Guinness so others who felt alone and different would have the bravery to be themselves. It broke down so many barriers. The reaction I had from the campaign was amazing. People constantly stopped me in the streets, saying, "Do you know what? They're actually living a life now they never thought they could have." But the fact I can affect someone's life in a positive way is better than any trophy I've ever won.
So we actually won a glass lion for this work at Cannes, and we're incredibly proud about that.
Mark, click the slide one more time.
Thank you, Sil. But most importantly, we think that this work helped to challenge stereotypes and contributes to a more tolerant, more diverse society, and uses the power of our voice to do that. And our voice is powerful because we spend millions on amplifying our content around the world, and we have the credibility of the Guinness brand to back that up. Now, why was this credible for Guinness to do? It's because it was set in our heartland of rugby. So if we'd told this story in a different setting, in the workplace or in music, would people have accepted it? Would people have listened to it? I'm not sure, actually. And the reason that we know this was credible for Guinness is because of what happened afterwards. So we made that campaign to celebrate the Rugby World Cup taking place in the UK. We weren't the official sponsors. We knew that other people would do stuff around winning tickets for the games or talking about national pride, and we just wanted to do something different. And it delivered way beyond our expectations. £8 million of incremental sales, and we grew share against all of the official Rugby World Cup sponsors. And what's important for Guinness is that this isn't a one-off, it's part of a platform. So it's the same platform that gave birth to our film about the sapeurs, the Society of Elegant People of the Congo. They're a group of real people, by the way, who take control of their lives by the way they dress. The power of communion to change the world for the better. And here's the sapeurs film.
In life, you cannot always choose what you do, but you can always choose who you are.
Ain't nothing wrong with this chemistry. Ain't nothing wrong with this place.
We are the Sappers, the Society of Elegant Persons of the Congo. You see, my friends, with every brace and every cufflink, we say, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Fantastic work from AMV, BBDO. Let's talk about Smirnoff. Smirnoff is one of our brands where looking at purpose has had the most incredible impact on our communications platform. Our positioning model used to be based on the benefit of a brand. We called it key brand benefit. That was our focus. But what could you say about an odorless, colorless liquid, except that it is terrific quality, and anybody of you out there who drinks should be drinking Smirnoff. But beyond that, what do you say? It's hard. So Smirnoff floundered, really looking for the right thing to say that was distinctive. And we tried 6 or 7 different kinds of campaigns. And you'd go out and you ask consumers, so what do you remember about Smirnoff? And they would say, through the bottle. And I myself made a lot of these mistakes. Now, one of the campaigns we ran, just to give you an example of searching for an image, was a campaign called Be There. And it was all about, being out at night, nightlife. But the irony was, if you were sitting at home watching it on television, you certainly weren't there. Let's show the film. It's not very good quality. We don't even have it in our archives. We had to find it on YouTube.
I guess we did it because we were tired of the usual places.
The acoustics were amazing.
You should have been there.
So I still don't quite know what Be There means, but I do know that if I turn down the sound, that old trick, turn down the sound, what does it say? I wouldn't quite know if that was a Smirnoff or a Bacardi ad because it looks like generic nightlife. So what could we say that was unique and true? What would meet those questions that Mark set out at the beginning about credibility and clarity? This is how we see it. In a world where you have kind of those elitist premium vodkas, and the world of, that's up and coming of niche craft vodkas, Smirnoff has always been affordable, accessible, and democratic. So it's a brand for everybody, and therefore the purpose for Smirnoff around inclusivity is credible. And in a world that feels increasingly divided, and where our insight work tells us that our target group really wants a more inclusive world, that's the way they think about things. You have something that's credible in the brand roots, something that is true to a consumer insight. You put the 2 things together, and you have a right to speak out on various topics. And our credible place is in nightlife, at festivals, where Smirnoff has always led. So there are a million creative ways to express this. We've done an octogenarian, we've done an albino DJ, and we've done the one I'm about to show you, my favorite, a story about Chris Fonseca, who is a deaf dance teacher. Now, think about it. If you can't hear the music, how do you teach people how to dance? Let's see.
There's not many teachers out there who can teach a deaf person how to hear music.
Everybody feel your moves, everybody feel your move. Mr. Young, Mr. Young, in a dancing juice. Everybody to the... We are in a car loop, stop it, stop it. Watch me now, 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 no.
So Smirnoff is not the only brand doing inclusivity, and we think that's a good thing. Because as Mark said, think about the power of our collective spend, shining a light on the need for inclusivity, promoting diversity. The brave Maltesers' work. The Channel 4's, we are the superhumans. Think about what that did. And Dove's campaign for real beauty. Now, what we spend millions on gives us a voice. Sorry, I mentioned the wrong brand there. I'm going to talk about Dove later. That's Airbnb, We Belong, We Accept. And I love, particularly when that came out around the inauguration, making a statement about Americans being accepting. What we spend millions on gives us a voice, and it shapes society's views of what's normal, what's acceptable, and it combats stereotypes. As an industry, we really, really need to start thinking about that. But we can not only use our voice, we can use the power of our budget and our influence to actually change things. So, to drive action. And the question that we need to ask ourselves here is, who do we partner with? Who cares about this as much as we do? Who has the right creative voice? Who can help us amplify the message? So one example of us doing this on Smirnoff is on our program, Smirnoff Equalizing Music. We were concerned that only 17% of DJs are women. They were not getting their rightful place headlining festivals. So we made a pledge to double the number of women headliners in just 3 years by 2020. And we can't do it alone, that's really obvious. We don't control all of the value chains that are linked to festivals and music. So you've got to find the right festival organizers, the right promoters, the right people who controls who gets on the stage, and the right people to amplify it. And they have to have the same objective and passion that we do for this particular issue. We found them, we grouped together. We went live just this past International Women's Day. And we had women DJs doing gigs all around the world. We amplified that with our partners, and we reached 360 million people. And a lot of that was organic, because when you make content that people really want to watch, they will share it. So, more importantly, we are helping women DJs get real traction in the market, and that feels good.
But we also, when we started doing that work on inclusivity with Smirnoff, we started to get some negative comments. And YouTube last year gave us a fantastic example of the courage of how to respond to that kind of negativity. With YouTube's campaign, #ProudToBe, Made with the Nominee, which I believe actually launched this very day last year, the Tuesday of Cannes, to celebrate gender identity and sexuality. Within 24 hours, millions of people had seen it. But also within 24 hours, hateful comments and negativity had also started to come in. And it was the way that YouTube and Anomaly responded to that that takes courage. Here's the story.
2015 was a historic year for the Pride movement.
Ayes 33, nays 29.
But just as things were moving forward, 2016 brought new challenges.
The entire transgendered restroom issue is beyond crazy.
New debates erupted around who could go to what bathroom. And of course, there was the tragedy in Orlando. To show their ongoing support for the LGBTQ community, YouTube released a film composed entirely from creator videos.
I'm telling you who I am and giving you who I am.
I'm gay.
I'm a lesbian.
I am actually pansexual.
Soy homosexual.
I am 33 weeks pregnant.
In a climate of fear and intolerance, our film celebrated the full spectrum of sexual and gender identity. The message was simple. When identity is questioned, answer with pride. And that's what people did.
This won't scare us back into the closet. We will be seen, and we will be heard.
Go in front of a mirror, take a deep breath, and say, "This is who I am."
The film has attracted over 9.4 million views and 220,000 likes. Not to mention countless response videos from LGBTQ YouTubers and allies.
Proud to be campaigning.
Proud to be, ou em português.
It received attention around the world and was recognized by leading LGBTQ support groups. It helped shift the conversation from intolerance to acceptance and empowerment. Unfortunately, the message was too progressive for some, and when the inevitable conservative backlash came, the community responded. Negative comments were printed, shredded, and transformed into rainbow-colored confetti. This love confetti was then released at the New York Pride Parade, reinforcing the campaign message: when identity is questioned, answer with pride.
So just one of the campaigns that we've been inspired by. And so far, purpose is all about changing the world, right? But actually, if you haven't got clarity over where on that higher order of benefits that your brand can play, you're going to get it wrong. We found this with Baileys. So in 2011, we undertook a new purpose for Baileys, that Baileys makes women shine. And we got it wrong. And the reason being, female empowerment is something that we take very seriously at Diageo. We're very proud of our track record. However, we hadn't asked women whether they wanted Baileys to make them shine, or indeed whether Baileys could make them shine. And actually, when we stopped to listen to the research, we realized that we'd just got the insight wrong. We thought that we had to do a big image makeover for Baileys to make people fall in love with it all over again. Actually, what we found was that Baileys has this unbelievable base of drinkers, more than any other spirit in the world. It's just they forget to drink it. So we went back to what this brand is all about. This brand is part cake, it's part booze, it's all about pleasure. And so we cast the role of Baileys as being my co-conspirator in the pursuit of pleasure. And we knew that we had to trigger millions of people to think to drink Baileys. And therefore, we couldn't do that through long, convoluted stories. So instead, we unleashed millions of bite-sized moments of pleasure across Instagram, across Facebook, across Pinterest. Some of those we did ourselves, many more of them we did by working with partners. So I don't think that we would have created the Baileys Freak Shake on our own. That came up through working with contemporary food culture, and we were able to seed drinks like that and Baileys Espresso Martinis across London Coffee Week and street food festivals, and going way beyond our traditional channels.
I bet you all want one right now.
And the How to Make a Baileys Freak Shake video reached 135 million people around Europe and America through earned media alone. And it liberated our agencies to just go and have fun. And Mother, our lead agency for Baileys, created the world's first ever Instagram soap opera. And so we'll have a look at the first episode of that now.
Coffee!
I'm just here, darling.
Are my curves not curvaceous enough for you?
What do you mean?
You've been checking out the Lonely Hearts ads.
The lonely what?
Well, someone circled this. Tall, rich, curvaceous, seeks partner.
No, that's not coffee. That's tea. Oh, you filthy liar.
We need to talk.
So, you get the idea. We'll have a look at the second episode. I must warn you, it does get a little bit racy.
The ad said tall and curvaceous. Oh, where is she? Come on, hot and strong. Who the man? Ugh. You can do this. Pathetic. You got this. You the man. Wait. Oh, wow. You're even more delicious in the flesh.
Oh, how embarrassing. You've caught me with my top off. That's enough, Kettle.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, still does make my glasses steam up slightly, actually, watching that. Look, there were 10 episodes in all, and the response to this was huge. And I suppose the key question is, did this approach to purpose work? Well, Baileys have been flat for 10 years in Europe, and last year it grew 9%, and this year it grew 10%. So this is purpose work that works.
I love what Mark thinks is racy. Okay. Captain Morgan, another example where, yes, you know by now what I'm going to say, we got it wrong. When, and this was in terms of strategic clarity and credibility. It's not the work that was wrong, it's our brief. So here's the situation. When the US started going crazy for craft beer, craft whiskey, craft vodka, we saw Captain Morgan really start to lose ground. Now, a big driver of the craft craze is the quest for authenticity. People are interested in things that are real. So we said, okay, why don't we make the captain a bit more real? And we shot a campaign inspired by the buccaneer and real-life rum icon, Captain Henry Morgan. It was shot in the Caribbean on a 17th century replica ship by an Academy Award-winning director. It is beautiful. And we released it on Captain Henry Morgan's real birthday, as if people would know when that was. But let's look at the spot.
Enemy ship on starboard bow! To arms! To arms! Alert, Captain Morgan!
Captain Morgan, to life, love, and loot.
So, despite that poldark moment, our homage to a 17th century pirate did nothing to move our 21st century consumers. So we went back to the drawing board, back to Insight, and what we found is something that I'm sure a lot of you are finding in your own Insight work, and that is people are feeling under pressure from the 24/7 feed of social media, from the pressure to be successful, particularly when they're just starting out in their careers. And you know what? Sometimes they just want to have fun. Captain's always been about fun, so why not just go back to our roots? At a time when, you know, the purpose, really championing the power of fun, is relevant and never been more needed. Our new campaign from Anomaly has just broke, and it's a celebration of the fact, it's really, really simple, guys, and it's really, really well branded, but is a celebration of the fact that when you live like the captain, you have more fun.
Captain.
Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain. Captain. Captain.
Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain.
Just Dave, actually.
Captain Dave. Captain!
So we're reinventing Captain for the next generation. And so we've invited some modern day captains to help us drive our purpose deeper into culture. Now, those of you who know me know I know absolutely nothing about sports. So I don't know who these people are, but the number of views we're racking up tells me that you guys do. So it's working.
There is quite an easy way to remember, Sil. So it's Rio Ferdinand and Captain Morgan, Captain Morgan, and Captain Morgan.
Which one's Rio?
So, the next example is to talk about consistency. Johnny Walker is an example of consistency because we've had the same purpose for over 20 years, inspiring personal progress. That has given birth to an enduring campaign, Keep Walking, that has created iconic work that's powered Johnny Walker to be the world's #1 whiskey by a mile. But over that 20 years, the cultural context of progress has changed. It's no longer about that sort of determined personal pursuit of status, but now actually more about how you can help other people progress. And so we now tell stories of progress from around the world in that way. Working with Anomaly, we've told the stories of Keep Walking Colombia, where people from both sides of the conflict now live together in harmony. The Ode to Lesbos, celebrating the villagers who helped refugees on the shores of Greece. And Keep Walking Philippines, a mini-series the modern-day heroes in Philippines, the tech entrepreneurs who are changing life for the better. And in the US, in November, we launched Keep Walking America. This was a non-partisan celebration of optimism and diversity that we launched on the night of the US election across all of the news channels. We wanted to make a statement about the brand's belief in a future whereby America could progress for everyone. Here's the film.
As I went walking, I saw a sign. And on the sign it said, "No trespassing." But on the other side, it said nothing. That side was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of our diamond deserts. And all around me, a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. Esta tierra es mía. This land was made for you and me.
I was in Philadelphia that night, and I was watching TV, and it felt like the world was watching the election results come in. 70 million people saw that film on TV on election night alone. We saw digital search for Johnny Walker go up by 40%, the number of people searching for Keep Walking by 15 times. Lady Gaga herself then chose the same lyrics to use in her Super Bowl halftime set. And so somehow this work absorbed, echoed, and influenced the cultural context of the time. And then back to that final question, was it good for business as well? Johnny Walker has seen unprecedented growth over that period. Johnny Walker Black Label that features in the film growing 9% in the first half of this year. So, those are our 6 C's, those are our examples. We're pretty sure that we've got the right questions. But as you can see from our experience, we're under no illusions that it's really difficult to get all of them right all of the time and to get great work that works.
And we admire all the companies that are trying to do this, and many of them have been at it for a long time. And I think we as an industry should be more encouraging of this. I mean, P&G has done socially conscious advertising for decades. Nike has a fantastic history of empowering women in sport that I really admire. And Unilever has gotten so much right with their Dove campaign. Now, some people think these body type bottles were a mistake. I don't happen to agree, but everybody has a right to their opinion. You know, the question I want to ask you is, why do we as an industry go on the attack when we think somebody's got it wrong? I think Unilever should be applauded for, for trying lots of new and different things to get it right. So when people are trying consistently, let's back them. Because the prize for this is big. We can learn together. We can make people's lives a little bit better. We can be invited into their homes and onto their phones rather than being seen as an interruption. And we can sell more. When we get it right, we get to work with meaning that drives growth. We're all here because we want to do the best creative, the best work of our lives. We have a better chance of doing that if we know where we have a right to play. We get to work that matters. We as an industry have a voice, let's use it. And we get to work that moves people. We know to change attitudes and behaviors, you've got to move people emotionally. And that's why this whole talk, it's not about purpose for the sake of purpose. It's about tapping into things that are emotionally relevant and will make even Mark feel something. So, in sum, it takes clarity, credibility, commitment to unleash creativity. to make a difference and to drive growth. But most of all, it takes the courage to try and the courage to fail. Some people told us we were crazy to stand on this giant stage and talk about our failures, but we think that's who we are, human. We get some things right, we make mistakes, but we are always willing to keep walking in pursuit of greatness. Thank you. Thank you to you guys.
Many thanks indeed from Diageo, Sil Salah and Mark Sands. Mark's title, Global Head of Beer, Baileys and Smirnoff. That is the best title in the world, isn't it? Fantastic. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Sil. Fantastic. Don't forget, if you want to head down to the Work and Awards Hub in the basement, you can view all of the entries for this year's Lions and chat to some of the awards experts as well. Well worth doing that. The shortlists that are going to be released today are for the categories of design, entertainment, music, media and product design. A short break now. 2 o'clock, we'll be back here on the stage in the Lumiere Theatre to hear from FCB's Susan Cradle in conversation with one of today's most influential global creators. See you soon.